everyone always wants to visit the hottest tourist spots when visiting New York City. All the popular places, the Statue of Liberty, Times Square, and of course Central Park. I fully believe that these are all places that people should see at least once in their lifetime. I also believe that you should be doing some exploring outside of these major tourist spots as well. New York City is a gigantic city and there is so much to see here. New York City is so much more than just these tourist spots. I want you to be able to truly experience New York City and really see what it's all about. So in this video, I'm going to give you 5 Manhattan neighborhoods that I recommend you visit when visiting New York City. So the first on my list is going to be West Village and Greenwich Village. Technically, these are 2 different neighborhoods, but they're right next to each other and they're both considered part of the villages. Let me start off with the West Village. The West Village is an extremely picturesque neighborhood. It does not get any more beautiful than this. If you walk through the streets of the West Village, you will see townhomes and brownstones. It almost has kind of like a little bit of a European feel, even though we're in New York City. It is definitely one of the most gorgeous neighborhoods in Manhattan. And a lot of other New York City neighborhoods tend to look a lot more industrial and city-like, but the West Village kind of has more of a homey feel to it. And whenever somebody visits the West Village for the first time, they pretty much always agree that it's just a beautiful, beautiful neighborhood. And if they don't know much about the West Village when visiting for the first time, it's a hidden gem to them. Now, the other neighborhood I mentioned right next door is Greenwich Village. Now, Greenwich Village is right next to the West Village. And when people typically refer to the Village, this is the neighborhood that they're primarily talking about. Now, if you've seen the movie Rent, this is the neighborhood that they're primarily talking about in that movie. They're talking about the Village. It's a very, very artsy, community vibe neighborhood. There's a lot of really, really fun bars, really good restaurants here in this neighborhood. And it's one of those neighborhoods where you really, really feel the culture of Manhattan in that neighborhood. So I highly suggest that you take a trip to both West Village and Greenwich Village. Both of these neighborhoods are pretty small, so you can get through both of these neighborhoods easily in one day and maybe spend your first half of the day in the West Village, maybe getting lunch there, going to some of the shops that they have there because they have a lot of little cute boutique shops there, and grabbing a cup of coffee or tea or something like that, and then making your way to Greenwich Village later in the day and at night because the dining there and the bar scene there are absolutely great. The next neighborhood that I highly suggest that you visit in your trip to New York City is the Lower East Side. Now, the Lower East Side is an extremely culturally diverse neighborhood in Manhattan. There is a little bit of everything there. It is very diverse when it comes to the people and also very diverse when it comes to the food. You can find so many different types of food in the Lower East Side. So if you want to try different and new things, this is the neighborhood to go to. So the Lower East Side is known for its nightlife, live music scene. It's almost kind of known as a little bit of a grunge neighborhood. We'll have some images up here so you can see exactly what we're talking about. But if you're looking to really explore like the nightlife of everything that New York City has to offer, this neighborhood in Manhattan is one that you're going to need to see. Another neighborhood that you should check out on your trip to New York City is Tribeca. Tribeca is a downtown neighborhood in Manhattan, and you may have heard of it because it's known as being a very, very expensive neighborhood where a lot of celebrities live. Now, I have to say, I love Tribeca. It's a little bit more of a residential neighborhood, but you really get a great New York City vibe here because you really kind of can see exactly how some of the locals live in Tribeca. Now, it's not the most expensive neighborhood in Manhattan anymore, but it used to be a few years ago, and you can really get the feel for that when you're walking through some of the streets of Tribeca. Now, on the other hand, there are some streets where there are extremely expensive, amazing apartments and homes, and you can't even see them or get that vibe from the street level. So you don't even know that those are kind of like behind the walls of some of these crazy buildings in New York City. Overall, I recommend going to Tribeca for primarily the dining scene because they have really, really great dining options in Tribeca. You can also find some good bars there too if you want to make a whole night out of it. It's just not one of those neighborhoods where people go out for nightlife in New York City. It's more of like a dining scene with like grabbing a drink. So just keep that in mind when making a trip to Tribeca. Also, Tribeca is right next to the World Trade Center and the World Trade Center Mall. So if you want to see that, you can also pair that with Tribeca right from there. Another neighborhood that I highly suggest you visit when visiting New York City is Lincoln Square in the Upper West Side. Technically, Lincoln Square is a little neighborhood in the Upper West Side, but I'm going to combine both of these in this video. Lincoln Square is actually right next to Central Park. So you can combine this with Central Park if you plan on doing that as well. Lincoln Square is known for having the opera there, and they also have a lot of other different shows that go on in this center as well. It's an absolute beautiful neighborhood, and it's really cool if you want to pair it with a show if you're interested in doing something like that. Now, the Upper West Side is a really, really big neighborhood. If you look at the Upper West Side on a map, it's gigantic, and there's a lot of other little smaller neighborhoods that encompass the Upper West Side, just like I said with Lincoln Square. I suggest going to the area around 72nd Street between Amsterdam Ave and Broadway. This area is where all of the action pretty much is happening in the Upper West Side, and you can kind of get a feel for how the locals really live in New York City. Now, it's a little bit of a residential neighborhood, so you're not going to see a ton of tourist attractions around here, but you can also pair this with the Natural Museum of History. So if you plan on doing that, this is also on the Upper West Side, so you can pair those two together. Then, if you want to go to the Upper East Side to see the Museum Mile where all those museums are, you can then catch a bus or a car to get to the Upper East Side from the Upper West Side. Battery Park City is an underrated neighborhood in New York City that a lot of people just don't know about. It is in Manhattan, but it's all the way on the west side of Lower Manhattan. So we're going to flash up a picture of Battery Park City on the map so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. You literally have to cross the West Side highway to get to Battery Park City, but I highly suggest that you take a trip there. And the reason why is because the views and the parks in Battery Park City are absolutely insane. A lot of people don't know that there's a neighborhood in Manhattan that is so serene and filled with so much green space. Battery Park City is that neighborhood. So if you were looking to get away from the hustle and bustle of New York City for a day or half a day when you're visiting New York City, then this is the neighborhood that you want to go to. If you're visiting in the nicer months, even most of the spring, fall, and of course the summer, you're gonna love spending time in Battery Park City. And if you want to try city biking while in New York City, this is gonna be a great neighborhood to do that in. Now in Battery Park City, you're gonna be able to walk along the West Side waterfront, and you're gonna get really cool views of different parts of New York City, and you're also gonna get really cool views of the New Jersey skyline, which is right across the Hudson River. The Battery is also a park that is technically right on the southern part of Battery Park City. So if you were planning on seeing the Battery as well, or doing one of the Statue of Liberty ferries, which actually goes out of the Battery, then you can do that all in the same day when you're visiting Battery Park City. And if you do plan going to the World Trade Center, then you can also pair that with Battery Park City because it's just a few minutes walk from there. So I hope this helped you figure out a few different neighborhoods that are not extremely touristy that you should visit in Manhattan. I would love to know, have you visited any of these neighborhoods, or are you planning on visiting these neighborhoods? As always, I just love hearing from you guys.